He seems very comfortable. I think at the start of that switch, there was maybe less of a character pool than they would have wanted, and some more adjusting. But I think they've been looking really good with it now. And Luke, of course, has played some NASL games, but also rookies. So it's kind of just been rookies losing all day. HMG came very close to breaking that. But now we got a rookie on each team. So either way, it's happening.
I agree, because even though we say they're rookies, these players have years of competitive experience, so it's not like the level of play is so far above them that they won't be able to compete on the highest stage. And I really want to talk about this backline of Fresh, Carmine, because these are two quite good players. Carmine notably being voted second all-pro midfield, and Fresh, no stranger to NASL playoffs, made it with last call. So I really am not sure how this team is going to stack up against the side of Bombateers. But I am looking for the aggressiveness that comes out of Bombateers, really shoehorned by 3Z and Stealth Rock, which is funny to say. That is shape-shifting for people who don't know. And then following up is Luke, who had an unfortunate NASA exit in his playoff run, but is very clearly no stranger to top-level play. So we'll see what happens on this Clarion game 1.
Very comfortable. I feel like we'll be very comfortable here. And so far they do have the lead, but Carmine getting this middle almost finds a KO. Using the flip now, and they end up not getting a lot as 3G does a good job staying in the middle, so they're able to stay alive for now. And we'll see what Shade can do now to try to put the damage back on Carmine, but 3Z just staying in the play, finding a way to get those barriers open. They're in a good position now.
Something interesting I want to add as well is this is a very infamous comp that Bombateers have picked. They have actually opted into Vice Julie forward, which, if you are unfamiliar with the competitive scene, this is regarded as one of the boogeymen of competitive Omega Strikers. These characters, notably, are reviewed as not very good together when they're both in the forward position, though they are strong on their own. I'm going to imagine just the simple fact that both characters are powerful. Bombateers pick them in. Also powerful at potentially own goaling, where Stealth Rock gets the ball shot right into his ult. Luke really didn't have a good spot to put it between Tempo Melon's Dubu and the Vice ultimate, so that's going to be a point. Evens up nice at 1-1, and I want to see if these Bombateers can make the Julie Vice work, because not very many teams have been able to.
Yeah, so far on offense, I think it has looked fine. Just some defensive miskeys on that last point. And there, the strike layering wasn't quite on, but the strike went just around. And Luke now pushing up onto the offense. I always wondered, especially, you know, when I was like playing at a lower level, why exactly this Vice Julie tends to not work. I know, I'm not sure if you're fully that it's just terrible and can never work, but can you give some insight into why you think it does tend to struggle?
Yeah, I think the problem with the composition from when I played midfield is that Vice wants to put all her damage down and just go fully in, and Julie Vice really prefers a character that can utilize that like sheer damage more, something like an X. And Juliet, what really ends up happening in practice, cheers, is that the Julie and Vice will just dump everything they can to kill someone, and then they have nothing really left to get the goal. And other midfielders, more traditional projectile characters that get paired with the Julie, an Amy or an Estelle, they usually have another projectile or stuffing tool to pair for the Juliet, because she's so potent with the dash punch, but without it, she's just kind of walking strike bot. So we're going to see if that ends up mattering. So far, like you said, it hasn't really looked like it's been a problem for the Bombateers. But I'm curious, as the side of the Rat Pack scale this game with this Finny Amy backline and Dubu, if the Julie Vice will end up having this problem, or if it's just going to be a complete damage dump with the power of 1-2 punch with the side of blue team's comp.
Yeah, and the power of the Isabel gives you a little bit of that scoring potential that you might need when the cooldowns are all down. And right now they're in a great position as they dribble up, not necessarily pumping the damage out right now, but just trying to get the core to 3Z to use this flip. Luke has his. It goes wide, but 3Z still holding on to it, and relatively healthy means that they're still in a great position for this point. Uses it here to find the KO, and now this could be the problem we were talking about. We'll see if they can get the core up. Carmine's going to have to get out of there, but uses the glitch pop, wins his strike war. Stalling out a lot of this, gets the barrier as well, so Carmine just turns it all around. We'll see if the team can reward him as he sets up the turret, pushing in here, trying to find it, but just can't get the core down to Tempo Moen at the moment. But
just short of 3Z, Breezy had gone that dash punch. I think they were safe, but honestly, a midfield masterclass from Carmine West, and watching him successfully navigate the 2v3, take a barrier on his own, and then alleviate all that pressure off of Fresh, just let Temple Melon get right there and pressure Luke into unable to clear the ball. And going into the final point of the series, there is an energy advantage for Stealth Rock, which immediately results in a barrier. This bouncy castle is going to be quite difficult for the Finny to defend. We see Temple Melon and Carmine going in, but Breezy. That's not his first dash punch of the set, and I'm sure it won't be his last game as well. As another power play comes through, let's see if Tempo Melon can navigate it as successfully as her midfield. But unfortunately, she was not able to. A classy strike primary from Estelle pushes it through. And that's a close but also fast-paced first set. Going over the side of Bombateers with Stealth Rock, aka Shapeshifting, getting the MVP of the first set.
A lot of picks here. It means that there's not going to be a lot of his bis in the next ones, and he is going to go with the prime time instead of heavy impact, which I think is so that your Estelle can get either heavy, Deadeye, or hot shot. So really a lot of their bis showing up here might not be the best thing, but it does mean they're going to leave with a fantastic draft here. Heavy impact, Deadeye, and prime time are going to be all that they need. But it does mean that there might be more scaling for the side of Rat Pack in the future. That OIA, I think, on Finny is not going to be too scary, but if they do put their sights onto the Finny, we didn't really see that at all in the last set, but it could mean a playstyle change if they really want to try to kill him. But I think with what they got, they don't really need to kill the Finny. They're going to be able to kill the forwards just fine.
I just watched Dubu just get launched across the map. This 1-2 punch start is so deadly. And you mentioned a playstyle change. I actually want to highlight really quickly, there was a training that went undrafted, Inner Focus. One of the 3 new trainings, if you haven't watched Omega Striker since last NASL, there's 3 new trainings locked in. OIA is one of them, which adds speed to the game. Another is Inner Focus, which is stacks on stacks, but for cooldown reduction. I'm actually surprised there are multiple characters that stack it quite quickly in this draft, and I didn't see any of them opt into that, Westons. I think that's actually a bit of a misplay. I don't know if it'll end up mattering, but if I was either team, I think having that 26% CDR is just such a boon in these damage-heavy games. And we'll see if it actually ends up paying out, but I want to draw attention to that as the Bombateers get scored on in a classy little power play.
Yeah, great execution by the Dubu forward there. And yeah, even though she does have a lot of light hits, I think the points have been long enough that Finny might have liked that instead of the extra speed. You're running strike shot anyways, so you're just trying to keep the core up and not necessarily trying to run around as much. But yeah, we'll see what happens. I think it's probably just a sign of the players are too scared of this damage to take a stacking awakening and see what happens with that. But so far, still a lot of back and forth, but this middle going to 3Z Breezy is going to be very scary. A great clear from Fresh and then wins the strike war against the massive Julie. The flip goes down, a little miscommunication, and so they don't end up getting anything off. And now if Carmine can stay alive, he has this flip to try to get some barriers, maybe try to get a kill. We'll see if he can find anything there, but a great flip by Luke, sends it backwards, but Stealth Rock is ready for it. Rightfully Fresh with a bit of a misstrike there, and the point is looking pretty good for Bombateers as they do convert it.
It does seem like the name of the game is if Carmine's not on the field, the backline of Rat Pack, it doesn't really have the stones to keep it up. Like, Jubu's great offensively. Oh, we may have a pause here. Maybe some server issues. I'll talk a little bit more about that as we go on, but it appears that if Carmine goes down, this team comp really fails to find that defensive backbone that they're looking for, as looks like we're going back to normal here. But if I'm the side of Bombateers, it really does feel like this Amy, if the pressure's on her, really is a facilitator for this hyper-aggressive Finny Dubu comp. These are 2 characters that really excel at keeping the ball on the other side of the field. And if you can stack all 3 of their creation-based ults onto a barrier, there won't be a lot that this Estelle Vice can do to defend that. So it's going to be a lot of the onus on Carmine to navigate this damage and make sure that the Dubu's getting the ball into their hands, because there's a clock on this game, Weston. If these damaged characters get to keep hitting you for free, there's only so long that you can hold out.
Yeah, that feels like Carmine you see with some heroics and an anti-power play again. We'll see what else he can do as the turret is going backwards this time. They only lose 1 though, and Carmine was able to get the barrier, has to evade here. But it does feel like no matter what, the Dubu is going to go down eventually, and Carmine can try to stay alive as he wished, but does find a KO on Luke, so we'll see what he can do. 3Z Breezy going back into the goal, has the flip, so it seems like this is just going to get stalled out and not too much is going to happen here. Although 3Z with a great angle with the flip, now kind of all on his own in the front, but can't keep the core for long enough, and Tempo Melon once again has that clock ticking, is about to go down, rolls in though, and puts it right in the middle of the goal.
Wow. Luke with a very uncharacteristic missed strike just lets the ball go right into Tempo Melon's range. And they're going to capitalize on that mistake every time. This is the North American Strikers League, all right? You're going to take your goals where you can get them. It's actually interesting because both goalies at that point had a little bit of shaky defense. Some own barriers there, some missed strikes here or there. Maybe there are some server issues, like we saw Fresh take a second. But I don't want to stipulate too much because you never know what's going to happen in these games. So Templemoun's going to drop that ult, completely locking down the top side, resulting in an easy clear to the bot, getting stuffed by all these creations, and Carmine and Templemountain put it in with their goalie assisting from the back as well. Hey, that's a 1-1. I don't know. It's not easy to say which team has the rookies or not. And the rookie herself, Templemountain, gets a beautiful MVP. Shout out to Megan Trainer Weston.
Like you were saying on how they really want to keep the core forward with that Finny and that Dooku, it does also feel like so much of these points comes down to the kickoff. And if Rat Pack can win the kickoff and the core never comes back to the right side, like we saw in that last point, there's just very little that Luke and Shape can do on defense to get it out consistently. And so those kickoffs are going to be huge. Tempo Melon, the only problem she's had this game has been dying, and so rewarded with that Reptile Remedy is going to be huge. Fresh getting the missile prop. I know you're not a big fan of that on Finny, but we'll see what he can do with these cards. But yeah, an interesting draft there. The size on Juliet is going to be not too impactful, I think. And so Rat Pack has to be feeling pretty good, but I think every single point you just got to be watching for the kickoff. And if Rat Pack can win it, they're going to be in such a good spot.
I want to draw attention to Luke's positioning there. You might notice that Fresh had to keep sending it topside because Luke had a lot of pressure on that down clear, making it so that 3Z Breezy could help in that power play. Now it's a 3v2, turned into a 3v3. Now the 3Z Breezy and Stealth Rock are both alive. They're probably going to be able to take this barrier nice and easily, unless Frightfully Fresh has some good defense, clearing the ball away. And Carmine is going to try to get the ball to Tempo Melon. Drops the ult. Can't really get much as 3Z Breezy answers with the core flip. Open gate for both. But Stealth Rock, very patient on that strike, where Carmine's been having a really stand-up performance, but I actually think Stealth Rock has been quietly having some really good Vice plays as well. Had a Vice ult when they were going to die to make sure that they survived and impact the play longer. So it's really a battle of both midfielders doing quite well in this energetic Vice Amy, Vice Amy matchup. Not easy to play.
Yeah, not easy at all. Carmine now, when they're on the back foot like this, it's so hard, but Tempo Mo and dribbling just doesn't quite have the size or the speed to keep the core that consistently. But now as they have it in the corner, Stealth Rock has the middle. This is going to be scary. Just walking Fresh down. The Juliet now in the corner as well, but Carmine with a great job helping on the defense there. And now if they can find a KO on 3Z, this will be exactly what they need. But Stealth Rock doing a good job just holding that top side, not letting it pass him. And Luke is there for the support. Tempo Moen getting low now. Stealth Rock does go down, but gets the barrier with him on the way out. We'll see what Tempo Moen can do, but Reptile not going to help. Gets dash punched by 3Z, and 3Z just walks up and scores it.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not really sure what Fresh was going for there. He just stopped moving and thought that if he kept his ult out, nothing would happen, but 3Z just came in and picked his pocket there for a bit of a freebie goal. And 3Z Breezy's no slouch, so let's be clear, in the soon-to-be Strikers playoff run, 3Z Breezy's Juliet was an integral part to that team's success, where they almost never lost once he got that pick. And he's really good at finding both dash punches and scoring conversions. I think that's going to be a big reason why this Bombateers team is finding a lot of success in this game. A lot of it's coming off the back of 3Z Breezy, but that's not to say the Rat Pack can't find kills either. As the damage racks up on both sides, I'm curious if 3Z is going to be able to hold this flip, or if he's going to be forced to spend it in the power play. Oh, missile prop Weston!
Missile propulsion,
the prophecy!
there we go.
Is it the best Finny training in the world? Another power play is going down. I feel like I've said it 3 times at this point. Maybe it's going to be a 4th if Luke can't get out of there quickly enough. The Finial actually self-denies the score. Tempo's looking for a valuable core flip, can find it. Oh, hell from the Dubu ult! My goodness, Luke is putting on a show. All 3 members of Bombateers making sure they help on the defense now that the core is back in possession of Rat Pack, but Luke's still surviving while Tempo rolls for the goal, but can't exactly find it. Dies to the goo. 3Z Breezy. Just enough energy to evade, but a beautiful Amy turret as always. We love Amy. Shout out to Amy. And let's see if Carmine can make the magic work in the 2v3. He's been quite adept at making sure he can stall for Tempo Melon to get back into play. The Dubu's back on the field. All teams have very little energy, and Weston, we'll see who's going to come out on top on this point.
Yeah, these backwards Finny cards are doing so much damage, but it means that the defense is hard. But for now, Frightfully Fresh is holding on to it. We'll see if Tempo Bone can get it locked in this corner. Does right now, but just Didn't have anything left to score other than strike, but gets it done there. That was a crazy point on both sides.
I have to say, I hope, did anyone see in chat, one person, anyone see what Carmine did that point while some whimsy was happening? I hope one person saw what just happened. This is a hilarious game because Carmine just scooted on the edge while Tempomelon looks max Mog with the Dubu on Luke. Like, this is a bit of a movie of a game. I will not lie. Like, I can't tell what's going to happen next.
Yeah, and one thing we've noticed.
Right.
The rookie does it as they're going back and forth on the bottom here. One thing I have noticed is that when the OIA was picked by Frightfully Fresh, as gets it,
that's an own goal.
OIA, that is an own goal. When the OIA was picked, yeah, it was Chain Lightning.
I'm sorry, I couldn't focus. Talk about the OIA, Weston. I'm interrupting you too much. Bad caster etiquette. I was just whimsy maxing. Talk to me about the OIA, King. Talk to me.
It's not really getting Fresh killed, but a lot of the times when 3Z is pressuring, Fresh has to just position so much more defensively and further back than he wants to, I think, and especially with Strike Shot, that's not very good for him. And so I think it has actually mattered in a lot of these points here, even if Fresh hasn't been dying himself. But Tempomelon almost dead, doesn't kill Luke, instead he gets sent forward and now going to try to play midfield as Stealth Rock with a great play, but Fresh is able to win it, but 3Z beats Carmine there. Tempo was already going down as well. And a crazy set ends up resulting in a Bombateers set win.
I just watched, in all of that chaos, I think Julie Raw Dash just put it in. Carmine just didn't have his strike cooldown. It had to be just a 10th of a second off at most. I'm going to expect the stacks to go to Julie. Yeah, that training is pretty crazy. I think one thing that we've noticed in this game, a little bit different in the most recent patch, #OAB, is speed has been getting taken out of the game for a fair amount of it. Now, stacks on stacks is one of those few trainings, still nerfed from what it used to be, but from that older time frame of the game where there was just so much more speed. So when a character is able to actually pick up the stacks and fully utilize it, it does feel like such an insane boon. Especially with this Vice Estelle team, not really known for the speed on those characters, even if they have the trainings that are helping them. So the fact that this Julie can be hyper mobile and constantly pressure more of these dash punches, or even kill confirms with her ult, it's going to be really, really important for the side of Bombateers to make sure that 3Z Breezy does not die and can use it to its fullest extent. As Tempomelon does a little bit of an oopsie on the strike, missing a free barrier and the power play, but that's all right. That's all right. We're here to have fun. We're here to whimsy max. And the creations are going down, Weston. I'm going to see if they can pull this through. But what are your thoughts on this stacks on stacks training?
Yeah, I mean, already, I believe, died there, but now already back up to 34. Just stacks it so quickly. If Freezy can get his hands on the core. As a bit of a misposition there from Fresh does mean he has to use it. Strikes it now to Carmine, who found it in the right spot. Luke is able to keep it alive for now. 3Z gets a KO as well, so the pressure's taken off. Fresh is able to poke that away from 3Z, and we'll see if he can get up to put enough pressure on this. But Tempomelon doing the ritual, letting the boo talk tonight and not letting it through. And Fresh with a great play to get it to Tempomelon, who puts it in. And every single point in this game has just been something I feel like you do not see more than once in a game.
Yo, Dimer badge, Hall of Fame pass. Carmine, you and I, CLR, just had a crispy Dimer with his aiming abilities to get us to the Tempomelon character at the front. And now the creations are going down. We'll see if it ends up mattering, but this map is all about which team is able to get this middle orb, and for once it feels like neither team has a really good orb confirm, except for the Vice ult, but it's not going to matter. Tempomelon is the size of a building after picking it up. Better jungler wins that smite. Nice flip from Luke to clear it out, but it's already going back in Tempo's hands like nothing ever happened. Just a little more damage has gone down. One thing I think that's been paying dividends a lot for Tempomelon is the fact that they picked up this Reptile Remedy. Gives them so much more survivability. They're almost back to full HP just off of a couple strikes, and that's so important because Dubu can't really fight back in the damage war. He's really good at getting knockback kills, and he's able to shove the ball quite nicely, but he really struggles versus damage dumping. So the fact that Dubu has both Tempo Swing and his Reptile Remedy means his really biggest weakness has been mitigated. And it's going to be on the side of Luke to really play around the Dubu checkmates efficiently, or else there's going to be no hope on offense. Well, there's going to be hope on offense. It's just going to be on the other side, because Bombateers, while I'm talking about the power of Dubu, has poked holes right into the back of Dubu's team. This Finny and Amy, while very effective at using creations to pressure barriers, not as easy to defend when you're on your own barrier. So Bombateers is going to even up the game 1-1 as we go to side streets map variant.
Got that tempo swing and reptile remedy. They can't really put the damage KOs on tempo mode, which is exactly what they were doing the entire start of this game. Instead, it's mostly 3Z trying to find knockback KOs because it just feels like Carmine is doing such a good job at surviving that they're never putting the damage pressure on him either. And I don't know if that means that they need to put some more, but it seems like he's able to stay alive quite consistently other than those Julie dash punch KOs. And so they've kind of had to change their play style, but the fact that they're winning this game means that they've done a great job at that. As Luke pushes up the flip down to 3Z, who wins the strike war against Carmine. We'll see what Tempo Melon can do. Puts the wall up in the corner and then wins the strike war against Luke.
Get in there, Dubu! Score some goals! I really like the whole angle that Tempo went for because it forced the ball out in a really good way to keep pressure in their net. And I thought that was really quite good because I think there's a very easy world where Tempo Melon ults differently and that pressure isn't as prevalent. So really, really good heads-up play from Tempo Melon. We'll see how the Dubu works on this map. I don't know if I'm a huge fan of it. It feels like you want a brawler that can have a little bit more KO pressure, but again, once that first barrier goes down, Luke's going to have a lot of difficulty defending in the one-on-one. I don't know if he's going to be able to clear it if Tempo Melon can get it in the right spot. So the onus is on Carmine and Fresh to make sure that Dubu can get the ball in that tight corner that the missing barrier has formed with the other barriers. So we'll see if they're able to pull it off. For now, they're doing quite a good job of holding the line. With 3Z Breezy expending his core flip, there's only one more left for Stealth Rock for defensive purposes, but Tempo Melon's able to get it, and Stealth Rock can't get the flip out in time. All of a sudden, we're on a set point, and if Tempo Melon gets the ball in their hands one more time, I don't know if this Estelle is going to be able to stop it. Gets one. Oh, but dies to the log! That's the Monumentalist right there. It's going to set 5 off the back of the Tempo Melon Dubu, really being supported quite nicely by Carmine's aiming.
And they put so many cooldowns into Dubu in that point for damage, but Tempo Swing and Reptile Remedy, I feel like usually Tempo Swing doesn't impress very much, but you could see the adding on of those two healings there, and so much was put into Dubu, and the fact that it didn't kill just kind of meant that there wasn't going to be enough for defense there. Now gets bulk up as well, so going to have even more stagger. Carmine gets the peak performance as well, so they have what they need to stay alive here. The Julie gets twin drive.
Wow.
Extra special on Estelle could keep things up a little bit, but Spec getting denied away. I think this draft is really good for Rat Pack, and it feels like when they can stay alive, Tempo is just able to make some magic happen.
This is a crazy draft. I'm going to be honest. Everyone knows that the best things to take as a damage comp are the survivability trainings. Tempo Melon getting a Stagger Awakening, Carmine getting another Stagger Awakening, and Vice not really getting anything to supplement her build is a huge swing for the side of Rat Pack. They probably feel on cloud 9 with how these trainings ended up going. Really the only thing that doesn't get a lot of love is the Finny Spec, but when you're denying it from a Vice, you can't help but be glad about that. As Tempo Melon and Carmine going to utilize the Finny ult to make sure this power play results in both barriers going down. Now we're in the awkward part of this. Oh, we're in the awkward part of this map where it's a little difficult to try to get the ball fully in a scoring position. So I'm going to have to look for Carmine to set up Tempo Melon. Oh, wow. Wait. Okay. Low key, kind of a crazy shot. I think if they shoot it down, the Estelle ult or the Estelle snipe is going to catch that, Weston. So the lock runner straight shot right at Luke's dome, low-key kind of a fire mix-up, I'll say it.
Sometimes it pays off to be a brawler, as 3Z finds the first KO in what feels like for forever for their team. But they're in a great spot, and Finny, it's so hard to defend this power play, and they convert it very easily. We'll see if 3Z can find another one or two of those. And he's already up to 104 stacks, so probably going to get it pretty early in this next point. It's still anyone's game, and Carmine lost his own prize fighter stack, which hadn't been doing a ton, but does take a little bit of the pressure off. But this game is very even though it feels like Rat Pack has had a lot of the momentum lately.
I agree. And that last point really highlighted my favorite part of watching Bombateers, which is the 3Z Breezy Stealth Rock passes. It really feels like they're U-turning the ball to one another in a really beautiful way. So I'm a big fan of watching whenever those two get the ball in their hands. Oh! Now there's going to be a bit of an angle, but once again, Tempo, that's not the first or second time I've seen her kill someone with that ult, and this is the scariest spot you play against a dude with 3Z Breezy. Tries to help, but the angle's just a little bit too tight for our local favorite dragger. Not able to find the defense. Oh, but Tempo Melon's killing everyone! It's going to be match point for the side of Rat Pack off of some bomb bang of her own. The Dubu is unleashed, Weston. I don't know. it's looking really dire if you're a Bombateers fan.
This Dubu is just always there, always on the field. There's nothing, even with Vice, even with Estelle having a ton of damage, nothing they can do to take Tempo Moen off the field. And Tempo Moen does not look like a rookie playing one of their first NASL games. They look very comfortable here. Flips it right in the goal, uses the roll, and puts it in. So Rat Pack take this first map in 5 sets. Back and forth, they were able to come back, and they just had all the momentum rolling into that last set and through the win.
Hey, W-Dubu, I just want everyone to know, I love this Dubu character so much. Great play from, I want to shout out Carmine. I know Tim Mellon kind of stole the show there at the end, but I really was impressed with Carmine's midfielding. He was under a lot of pressure that game, and he had some very critical power plays on 3v2s, but not even just the 3v2s, Weston, the 2v3s. When he was playing defense with Fresh, I felt like he was alleviating pressure very nicely. I thought that he had some great glitch pops for some interrupts. Very, very pleased with how Carmine played that game. I really thought it was a bit of a forward pair show. Not to say that Frightfully Fresh did not do badly, but really Finny feels like a supporting cast member because that comp, while she can really supplement a damage-dealing comp, I don't really view the Dubu as the character you pick to synergize with that aspect of Finny. Really Fresh was there to supplement that with some creations. You know, a secondary here, there's some zone control. So while we didn't say his name that much, it really feels like he had a nice 1 to 2 series or sets in that series so far where he was just quietly but very efficiently supporting that backline. So I want to really shout that out as well. And of course, Julie Vice has lost again. Haven't seen it win in years. Still won't see it today.
Just can't do it. They can't do it. Yeah, it would. I mean, you're seeing in the chat, in the scoreboard, 12+1 for Tempo Moen. Super impressive. Made those 147 redirects count the entire time. And it was more of a balanced attack from Bombateers. Like you said, the passing was really impressive. They found more KOs in the end, which is what they wanted with that team comp. But it just still wasn't enough, and it felt like Tempo Moen got exactly what they needed as far as their build to be able to take over that game in the way that they did. And Carmine, yeah, we had some heroic points in the early game. You know, they needed to get to set 5 to win that one, and just a really impressive performance from them all around. And I think we will now be heading to Gates, as you were previewing earlier.
Oh, thank God. I wonder if Dubu's going to be... I'm going to say, I think Dubu needs to be picked ban on Gates. I mean, if we watched the Sad Boys series on Gates, that's all that needs to be said about Dubu on Gates. All right, show some respect to the Boo. And one last thing I want to add is, even though we were constantly talking about the side of Bombateers having the damage, if you actually looked at the scoreboard, which surprised me, the damage was pretty equitable, and the KO difference was only 1, which was really interesting to me. Because I feel like if you pick Vice, Estelle, Julie, you're really, really aiming to kill them. Now, you obviously can do more, but I just have to wonder if the Estelle and Vice were switched, what would have happened that game. Obviously, it was very close, and it was set 5 down to the wire many times. But I really do strongly believe that the Vice-Julie combination it doesn't have that forward synergy that Julie really likes, because Vice can't punish those cross clears as effectively. I really would have liked to see maybe those characters swapped into plays. I don't think any one of those players did poorly. I thought that shapeshifting Stealth Rock had a lot of great plays. He got a lot of chip damage in when people switched in off of a power play. You know, did about 12% to 25% of their HP, depending on how hard he was hitting. And then Threezy Breezy Juliet, storied character, storied player. That's a land winner right there. And then Lucas, hey, Lucas is pretty good too, Weston. But it felt like all the pieces didn't quite fit. And I was really happy to see Rat Pack take advantage of that with their own style. Now, getting into the draft, Rat Pack opted to ban the Boo. I find that quite interesting. I'm not sure if that means Fresh doesn't feel as comfortable on him, but I personally always believe that if you are a blue side on Gates, just slam the Dubu, regardless of what the start is. But it looks like the reason why they banned Dubu is they wanted to pick X. Now, Weston, would you believe me if I told you on the NASL player data sheet, X is the strongest striker, had the most strongly agrees out of any question. Would you believe that?
Wow. I didn't look at all the stats in the end. And no, that is surprising. Oh, okay. The names are reversed. So Bomba is actually blue, just so you know. So they banned Dubu and picked X.
Oh, Bomba's blue?
We're being told.
Then they paid respect to the Boo, as they should. Well, yeah. I'll just spoil everyone. Yes, the overarching opinion from the North American Strikers League players is that X is the strongest, not even just brawler, but potentially the strongest character in the game. So it's no surprise that Bomba want to opt into that 3Z Breezy known X player. And on the side of Rat Pack, I actually knew this might have been coming. I see the Finny Rune backline and then paired with a saucy Luna as well. I actually know that Carmine's Rune is quite good. He opts into it quite a bit on this map. I don't know if we've seen it played in NASL before when he played midfield last season, but I certainly know that he likes playing on the map this time. This is a map that the Rat Pack actually has scrimmed quite a bit for people who aren't aware. They also opted into their run to make NASL, playing it on their landing games as well, winning all their games on it, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think they dropped a game at all, but they looked very comfortable on gates. So I'm curious to see how this is going to pan out.
It was to us.
One set. Oh, to the dogs. Excuse me.
To the dogs.
So I think that this will be a really interesting match because the Rat Pack on paper doesn't have the level of achievement that the Bombateers have, right? S tier wins, Luke, grand finalist of an S tier, MVP of NASA. That's a lot of accolades, but I don't necessarily view these teams as on different footings. I think that I'm just watching two equally matched teams battle it out on Gates of Obscura, which I think is a map that teams can approach quite differently. So I'm curious to see how it pans out. And we'll have to see what happens, Weston. Any thoughts before we get into that game?
Yeah, I mean, I think you can approach it so many ways because, you know, if it was, I mean, I guess giving away some draft strategy, if it's my team and we see X first pick, like I'm wanting to pick Atlas every single time because he's good on this map and it's good into X. But they immediately slam the Finny. They want to do what they did last game, keep the core up. Obviously, also some synergy with the Rune Luna that they're going for. But yeah, there's so many different ways you can go into it. And so with the way that they've drafted, I feel like, you know, neither of them going for the melee goalies. So we aren't going to have one of those like slogfest kind of games.
Yeah.
Instead, it's going to be a lot of damage and, you know, the awakening start. And I think no one really believing in Berserker as like an anti-damage awakening in any kind of way kind of means that we were headed for this.
I understand. I'm right there with you. One thing I'm interested to see is for people who don't know, at the Denver LAN, I played Estelle goalie on this map specifically whenever Doobie was banned. And one thing that she's going to struggle with is if the ball is on her half, she will physically be unable to deal with this Rune Pillar. There's just nothing in her kit as a goalie that can help her stop or force the ball out. So Stealth Rock has a lot of responsibility to try to make sure he's putting the ball outside of the zone of control that Rune has. Because if Rune does not have his primary up, the game gets infinitely easier for Luke to be able to play it. That's going to be a big catalyst at this point. And Weston, one other thing I want to add to your attention is Luna. Estelle is going to struggle immensely into dealing with the Luna flight. So eyes on, if you're watching this game and Luna hasn't flown for a while, Estelle is under a ton of pressure on her cross clear. Those two things are going to make Luke's job very difficult this game.
Yeah, and you know, whenever Twin Drive comes up, it is very, very important that Rat Pack try to get that either on Finny or on Luna. But a great job so far. They find a power play, but they're not really able to get a lot. Breezy Breezy with the flip is able to stall out some. Got some damage onto Carmine, but the fact that they were in the power play doesn't mean they're able to get much. But Luke uses the flip and still loses the barrier there, so that's going to make things difficult. They get it out of the enemy turret as well. And Tempo, even though the risk of the strike shot was there, just knew it was going in. Just didn't have to move the controller anymore.
Now that was a devious play. I'm going to be honest, because she chose to stop, which you can walk with the ball there and block the strike shot. But she went for the Mogwarts Academy play and just dropped a water emote. You could drop a water in the chat in honor of that play. That'd be wonderful. Action's starting right back up here, but I just want to make sure I shout out Tev Melon as Bombateers are on the back foot. This triple range is going to be quite hard because X doesn't really have a melee character he can bully in the same way that he'd be able to. And let me tell you, Finny into X feels pretty good for Finny. I know I'm focusing a lot on these goalie picks, but on Gates of Obscura, beautiful. On Gates of Obscura, these goalie picks really dictate the entire flow of the game. Unlike some other maps where it feels like the brawler picks matter quite a bit. And speaking of goalie picks, like I mentioned, Estelle, absolutely no options into Luna's mix-up, especially with that flight, core flip, insta-dash. That's a quick 2-0. And if I'm the side of Bombateers, I'm going to have to try to figure out how to get the ball past all of these creation spams from the back line of Finny and the Rune. And maybe it's going to start with a power play, Weston.
you just beat the hell out of Luna, and then that flight doesn't matter anymore, what they did right there. I don't know if it's a consistent strategy, but they found a KO there, and we'll see what they can do to convert this. The glitch pop doesn't go quite far enough, and so they do have it set up in the corner, but it gets past. The flight goes, puts Tempo Moen out of position, but then the core getting past means she's right back into position, so still able to get one, but now Threezy with this X Maximus gonna try to wreak some havoc, and nothing really Finny can do against that. The core gets back down, Stealth Rock setting it up into the corner, trying to procure the rock to Threezy Breezy, but a good job of Frightfully Fresh strike-shredding the core away, and it just seems hard for X to get the core in a scoring position consistently so far here.
It's going to be difficult when these bears are down Weston because it feels like Threezy Breezy is going to have to help his teammates battle through this defensive creation spam. But if he does that, he's not going to be in a position to 1v1 the Finny. So it's this strange catch-22 on gates where a lot of times it feels like you have to wait for some core speed to ramp up in overtime before you as the brawler can get it done. Because otherwise, the Finny kind of just can use her primary, secondary to score and defend. But Stealth Rock doesn't care what I'm saying. Stealth Rock just says, take that chip damage. What a beautiful little glitch pop. I like that a lot from him. So making sure they're not going down without a fight. And I think we saw, Weston, what the key to this play is. It's an early quick kill with the X pressure and using that, just keep the momentum on that side. Don't let the rune get it into the corner. Use him and his pillars on defense, making sure that when you are on defense, he doesn't have those abilities up.
Get one of those ranged characters out, that's what makes it so hard, is that there's 3 different characters who can just poke the core away from X, who just wants to have it on him in these offensive plays, but nothing to do there. A great kill from Tempo Moen, and now a power play could set them up to get something great in the draft here. Tempo Moen not in a position to MVP right here, but I don't think they care. I think they just want this. Almost found there, but the strike shot from Luke is able to set it up. Still control of the game being held, but Threezy Breezy with the primary is able to set that up. Pass up to Tempo Moen, dash down to the bottom, and like you said, those Estelle abilities, they're just too slow, and that Luna dash is so strong against her.
It's hard. Estelle really is known for her ability to deny any sort of interaction with the ball at a range, but the problem is Luna doesn't have to play on the ball. And that's why this Luna brawler pick can be so effective. She's lost a lot of her damage over the last year or so. She's lost a lot of damage in her base kit and her awakenings, but she still has the whammy. She's still got the boost. She can play off the ball in ways that other brawler picks just really don't have to do. And it makes her a threat for this Estelle. And not to mention, while the Estelle gets team player, Finny gets Timeless Creator. So it's just yet another thorn in the Bombateers' defensive profile, where you have the rune pillars, and on top of that, if you ever are stuck on your half and Finny can walk up, it almost guarantees constant possession. I'm really concerned for Bombateers' ability to be able to navigate this game as these sets go on, Weston. It just doesn't look very doable.
Yeah, and if you make, you can't really play into the rune as much as you want to now, especially now that this quick strike is here. As a great setup there, rune teleported out a little bit too far, wasn't there to help on defense, but if you're trying to get the core through to this Finny, set up X for those situations, you can't really play through the rune with strikes at least, unless you're killing him due to this reduced energy. But that quick strike is going to make it really hard, and then like you said, Tempo Moen just gets to play off the ball. Little Clay Thompson, just have the gravity in the corner and then set up whenever you need it, and has been finding so much value onto the Estelle. Luke's job is really hard this game, and Shape is doing what he can to set it up. They've set up some great offensive sequences so far, and they might be rewarded with a 2-0 set victory here. But Rat Pack trying to fight back. Now that flight is gone, nothing really to do, and Threezy Breezy sets it up in the corner and scores.
Nice job from Threezy Breezy there, and I think the glimmer of hope from set 1 has become a small, not just glimmer, but a spark. Maybe even a flame. And it's coming off the fact of Threezy Breezy on X has an insane amount of damage in his kit, and he hasn't even stacked his prize fighter. Heavy impact proccing on the primary with the added power from the prize fighter, even just with 1 stack, is putting a lot of pressure on the side of Rat Pack. And while it's not gotten a ton of kills yet, just the fact that the damage is being applied makes you as a player have to navigate the field so much more differently than normal. So if he's able to get more prize fighter stacks in his build, I think he's just gonna be able to sit on the back line like we're seeing here, constantly applying that damage. We'll see if he's able to convert that into more and more goals, but for now, the core is just going any which way, and I have no idea what's going to happen next. Oh, cheers. Never mind. Another classy goal in this series. I love to see it. Tempo Melon, little Mogwarts Academy enrollment once again. And all of a sudden, the point's been scored while I was talking about Threezy Breezy's damage, Weston.
Yeah, they're just doing that. And I feel like we haven't talked about Fresh at all, who once again is playing this strike shot Finny, which is very different from how you can play Finny, and, you know, was going for missile prop in that last game. But just out-leveling everyone in this lobby, doing such a good job keeping the core up, putting some damage on Threezy, like those secondaries that set up for situations like this, where he's just going to have to leave the play after that flip, most likely, unless Carmine gets the pressure put on him instead. But Threezy Breezy gets KO'd there, and Fresh doing such a good job playing defense in what is not an easy game, not an easy team to play defense in, and setting up his team, as Carmine is just able to survive here. And now Tempo Mel and Carmine passing back and forth, and Tempo puts it right through the middle and drops the water.
Love that. That's the kind of team play, I think, over the NASL seasons that I've played. I mean, I remember NASL 1, and that's something that just you would never have seen in the game years ago. Okay, that kind of back and forth is so satisfying, and also that team coordination there. Carmine dropping a pillar and Fresh dropping the triple take secondary made it so Luke had literally zero clears. Once these circles come down, this comp is just so impossible to play the defense of, and Fresh being that linchpin to tie it all together is just putting undeniable pressure on the Bombateers. What a beautiful banish. Maybe it was going to pan out, but not exactly. Bit of a miss strikes. I low-key forgot that I was casting. I was more so just enjoying it as a player there. It's getting a little tense, and shape-shifting is in a perfect spot, but finds the angle! Oh, what a beautiful strike! 1 in a million shot chemical reaction type shit. I try to censor myself, Sai, but I can't help who I am. What a beautiful goal. Weston, this is some Omega Strikers.
Really well done. And we're in a tied game. It doesn't feel like we're tied up, but now Shape is going to have extra special, going to be able to set up in the corner. Unfortunately, Timeless is already gone, but that's still going to be a ton of pressure. The Twin Drive does finally go here, and I'm a little surprised that they put it on the Finny instead of the Luna, considering they were picking second and third. Maybe the other way around with that would have been better, but Threezy Breezy has just been sitting on top of the Finny a little bit more, so I guess that's their thinking.
All right, this is pissing me off. Look, Saya, you know what you signed up for when I started casting. Yo, bombs! Why is Inner Focus dropping to 6? Whatever team wins that listens to this cast, yo, not allowed, by the way. If you lose, obviously you're not going to watch the VOD because you're on your, like, Marvin's Room stuff. But, guys, there's no way we're giving the Inner Focus, okay? Just had to real quick say that. Back to the professionalism. Wow, what a great play by Threezy Breezy. Banish coming through. Nothing's really going to amount to it except for his health bar literally disintegrates. I'm also shocked at the Twin Drive going to the Finny, but she utilizes it so well, and Tempo can really use the glass cannon that I do understand it. We'll see if they can dig it out. Stealth Rock's been doing a great job of controlling the ball here, and one thing I will say from personal experience and by watching is that Threezy Breezy has actually evolved to be quite good at living. I think that's something that all my MOBA brawler brethren are actually quite good at. Hashtag control scheme on top, but he's done a really good job of making sure that they can't finish him off. And I think it's quite important because if the rune doesn't have his primary up, he doesn't have a way to do it. And Temblon's going to have both of their abilities up to make sure they can kill Threezy because he plays around this mid line and takes up the space in a way that they can't easily just knock him out. So he's always keeping the pressure up for his Amy, who puts it in for him. So I actually really want to shout out Threezy there because while that was a really flashy Stealth Rock play, love that goal conversion. I think Threezy Breezy's survivability is undeniably why that play found its success.
Such a well-played goal there by Shape-Shifting. And it feels like they weren't able to do this really in the first set at all, but they are just getting the classic, you know, on the correct portal side, set up in the corner, X is doing damage to everyone, Amy turret is there keeping the core in, and it's just so hard for a Finny and a Rune to be able to push it out of there. And they're getting that set up so consistently here. Their barriers are down, but Tempo Melon is still down for a couple more seconds. We'll see if they can set it up. Threezy Breezy doing a great job, but the double banish could set things up, and the core is able to get out in time. Luke taking a lot of damage there, but doesn't feel like that's going to matter too much. But Carmine just isn't quite able to support Tempo Melon in the way that they did early on in this game, I think. And it's been a lot harder job, and that's because of the consistent offense that Bombateers have been setting up.
I think Bombateers' offense has really been linchpinned by the fact that Stealth Rock has really, really had some good Amy plays. I think Amy's been falling a bit out of favor by a lot of midfielders that have mained her for a long time. Like, notable Amy players have not been happy with her perceived power level, but Stealthrock has gone on to say quite a bit that they think that Amy is really one of the strongest picks that you can play, and if piloted well, it is quite effective. She can really knock off the health bar of a lot of players, especially if they've got those slick kicks on, those boots made for heavy-duty midfield play. Stealthrock's really able to open up those options here, and I've been quite impressed with him. It feels like after that first game where Carmine was really dictating the pace of it, it really does feel like this Amy has taken over this Gates of Luxir game and wants that third game to be forced.
Yeah, this is really impressive because it felt like the comp was working so well for Rat Pack, like they had so much momentum. But you can see by the levels, Fresh is still just 2 levels ahead of both of his teammates. He's having to do so much work, and eventually the Finny just can't do that against an X who's got so many stacks, so much power, a lot of speed from these orbs, and is just able to take over. And Stealthrock doing such a good job setting that up. And that banish, unfortunately, means the barrier goes down. They're able to get it past Breezy. They are in a good position, but Luke has this flip, and both barriers are still up. Breezy's able to just stall it out. Doesn't feel like it's going to matter, but Luke took a lot of damage there when maybe didn't need to.
I think Rat Pack is having a bit of a revelation looking at Breezy dance here. Maybe we shouldn't have given this to the Brawler. This training's pretty OP. Luke, finally, I like seeing him get active. This is one of my favorite players to watch. He gets in there, understands his position. Nicely timed flip and pressure from Estelle makes sure that this is getting more and more out of reach of the Rat Pack, and I see a plethora of X trainings. I expect him to go with size. I was about to say, I know spec training is quite good, but when you get the size on this map, does it really feel like he needs more damage? Don't really think so. Not surprised that he opts into that. And we'll see how the rest of the draft shakes out. This is the only person who's really not happy about this is Rune. I don't really see anything that Rune really likes here. Demolitionist, like a bit nice consolation prize. And then Stealthrock ends up picking up the spec training, which I kind of think is good. I don't know. I'm kind of a fan of it with the extra special. If I was a Vice, I'd be very happy with this build. But it's no slouch on Amy as well. I need to see Rat Pack make some adjustments here, and it's going to come from, I'll say it, maybe trying to make more of an effort to take these orbs away from 3Z. It feels like he gets them for free, and he's able to take so much more space up than he normally would. I'd like to maybe see that come through instead of them acting like nothing's really changed, because this speed that X is getting really feels quite difficult for them to deal with because they aren't able to find the kills on him either. So I'm looking for that as an adjustment. We'll see if they actually end up doing it. Maybe they have another solution, but that's what I would do, Weston.
Yeah, it also feels like maybe as Tempo Moen, wow, great Strike War win by Luke is going to keep that alive. We'll see if we can get it up. Feels like maybe getting the Finny ults used on offense more, which they did early in that point on the barriers. Feels like a recipe for success to get those barriers finally, because once they're down, it's so much harder for Luke. You know, you can take advantage of them with the flight like you just did there from Tempo Moen and drops another water. If they can set up Finny ults early on the enemy barriers like they did in that point, it feels like it's going to be so much easier for them, because otherwise, if they're having to try to maneuver through the Amy, through the Estelle, who both have a lot of cooldowns, it feels really difficult, because Luke is the one who did take that inner focus, and so those cooldowns are there to just poke the core away, but Finny ult can keep the core in there, which is what they want.
I agree, and I'd also like to see Carmine use these pillars on offense more, just like this. Make sure you're covering those clears. I think Fresh has a lockdown quite nicely in the back, and the most important thing is to convert when you get the chance. So I want to see the side of Rat Pack really use their abilities to support Tempo, because if she's able to get some more support, no matter how many cooldowns the Estelle has, she can't really stop the Luna if she has everything up. So that's where the final adjustment's going to take place as 3Z, Beersy, and Stealthrock get to working, and Luke does a great job of keeping the ball up. Lots of cooldowns now. He's got a almost fully stacked inner focus for the viewers at home. He's just at 11 out of his necessary 13 to double to 26. So he's just about there as a power comes through, and a power play results in that goal. There's not really much Fresh can do. He throws a little card, tries his best, but 3Z, Breezy, X, it's coming for us all, and it's looking dire for the side of the Rat Pack.
And like you said, he's just space gliding with these orbs the entire game. He gets every orb. His orbs have been at 5 stacks the entire time he's had it, and even that combo wasn't quite true enough to take those away. Tempo Moen now setting up for the offense, but Luke is just able to poke it away, and there, Freezy gets an orb, glides in, has so much speed, and there's nothing they can do about it. But they do get it open. The Finny secondary was able to set up the offense there. Now Tempo Melon with this 1-2 punch. They're trying to get it away. The Crystal Thorns almost find the barrier there, but great patience from Frightfully Fresh. And now that pillar is gone. Tempo Melon had the solo play, but just couldn't quite find it there. And now Freezy is able to get the barrier open. And yeah, it just feels like this speed from Freezy Breezy and the support that Stealth Rock has is just too much.
Yeah, it feels like Freezy Breezy is forcing like a lot of switches from the side of the Rat Pack, and then it just feels like Stealth Rock is able to just constantly chip them down. Like Freezy Breezy is such an offensive threat, and I just don't feel like that they have a check for it on the side of Rat Pack, so they constantly are trying to switch around, figuring out what to do, and Stealth Rock gets the chips. Now, a bit of a hyper offense coming in for the side of Rat Pack there. Kind of shuts me down right in my tracks. All it takes is one boost, and your boost sweeper is going to go to work off the back of Tempo Melon there. So, evening up the game quite nicely. It really is anyone's game. Freezy Breezy is close to his flip, and I don't know if Fresh is going to be able to hold a flipped X with size and Dancer. We're going to see if he's able to get value from that, but my eyes are on him this point to make it happen. But Tempo Melon first decides that they won't go down without some bombas of their own. Bombateers eating what they're named after. Now Tempo Melon has to battle against the Estelle with truly very little cooldowns here. Carmine takes it to the bottom, doesn't form the pillar, but gets the barrier and forms his secondary, which is huge. Keeps the possession going. Looking for Fresh. 2 ult, doesn't have it. It looks like Tempo Melon back on the defense after missing her flight. And now Freezy Breezy in position, but not quite. Good team defense and Bomba coming down. Luke explodes, doesn't use his flip. That's going to be really, really scary for the side of Bombateers. All of a sudden, stagger out the window. That's going to be a dead goalie. Tempo Melon, that's going to be a 1 set. Set 5 going to the Rat Pack after Luke decides not to flip on the Luna ult, Weston. That's a costly mistake. I'm curious, could that be the catalyst to end them up with losing the game? We'll have to find out in this set and see how the draft plays out.
Yeah, you are seeing Luke, that inner focus. He had his primary so often there, the combination of heavy impact and inner focus, it's just always up. And so the job for Luna, for Tempo Melon, is so much harder here. Gets the Deadeye denied away here, but is going to be able to get Peak. Now has Peak and Bulk, so a little extra power, a little extra speed than you would normally have. Stacks is going to go on to X, and he's been able to keep those other 2 Stack Awakenings up so consistently. Now has all 3. And so feels like if Freezy Breezy can get these stacks up relatively quickly and you're not already down 0-2 or something, he's going to have so much pressure that Fresh, I'm not sure how he'll be able to deal with. So we'll see if that means that they try to KO or if they can just win this fast enough. But it's not looking great so far. Stealth Rock is able to get that orb and stay alive. And Freezy already up to 50 stacks right now.
Also worth noting, say if Tempo Melon had Super Surge, she would have a kill. Now, not to say peak performance was a mistake, but wanted to make sure I said it. Hashtag color casting. Now we have Fresh and Carmine in the back line. Freezy Breezy doing a crazy amount of damage, and Stealth Rock sneaks in a free barrier right there off the back of the portal. Now Tempo Melon, what a beautiful flight. It's going to be up to which goalie can hold it down at range longer. I think Luke's job is a bit harder. Doesn't have the stacks up against double ranged. Carmine and Tempo have such a good way of... Oh, he doesn't TP in time. He's gone. That's a huge play from Freezy Breezy. Carmine was mid-secondary shadow swap, but wasn't able to find it. Bounce House goes down on Tempo Melon, but lives because of the peak performance. Hashtag color. Now Freezy Breezy looking for the goal. The side of Bombateers has so much energy. Their forwards, if they can link up on this play, are going to be able to put it in. Tempo Melon desperate for the ball right now. Frightfully Fresh misses the strike. It's not going to matter. Tempo has all her abilities up. She has dash. Oh, Carmine, what a pillar! He's able to... Ooh, I don't know. It was a little risky. I don't blame Luke. That's a little hard, I'm going to be honest. But that's the pressure that this Estelle has. She doesn't know really where to clear. It's so hard to decide. Do I deal with the Luna flying in? Do I deal with the pillar that might form in my face? Who could say? It's back and forth, and it's 1-0 for the side of Rat Pack.
It feels like Tempo Melon stole that point because they were in such a good spot, and they finally killed Freezy.
Stacks.
The orbs and the stacks are gone, and the prize fighter is down to 0. They're all down to 0. And Tempo Melon was able to get that barrier in a reverse power play. Now sets up the second point with a double power play. They still haven't got a barrier yet, but the fact that these stacks are gone is so bad for Bombateers. They get the first one, they set up now into the corner, and now going to be able to use these pillars offensively like it feels like has not been that common, but when they are, It is huge for them. They keep it in the corner here. Now the Amy turret has to be used defensively, and Fresh in the back is just able to set up his teammates so well. Tempo Melon strikes down to the bottom. Carmine, though, strikes it into the corner, so they don't quite get it, but the offense still in a great position. The Finny ult sends it in. It doesn't quite go into the pillar. Tempo Melon's still not able to do it, and now Luke has a flip.
Well, what is that? Carmine, what are we doing? Sorry, guys, casting. Carmine dribbling the ball, setting himself up nicely for a mysterious power play, who could say. Breezy flips the ball. Doesn't really get much going here now. Carmine on the back foot. Tempo Melon 1v2. Power play. Carmine flips the ball, catches it. Bang! Mike Breen! That's a goal. Carmine, just like he threw it up, puts the ball in. Absolutely no issues there. Just sinks it in beautifully. Trades his flip out, and all of a sudden, there's two players on the sides of Bombateer with no evades versus a Rune and a Luna. It's anyone's guess what could happen, but mine is that someone is going to die, Weston.
The ult goes on to 3Z Breezy, but Luke does a great job setting the core up. Fresh, though, having this flip just means it's so comfortable to play defense right here. And now the pillar set up in the corner. They do banish 3Z Breezy, who is all the way up to 100 stacks now, but it doesn't really matter right now with this consistent offense that they have. We'll see if Carmine can set up tempo mode. Fresh gets the flip, a little bit too excited there maybe to end the game, but it does set up some pressure. Now having to use these Amy turrets on defense so consistently, and Tempo Mode is winning all these strike wars. Carmine wins it that time, sends it into the corner, had the pillar as well. And Rat Pack are able to 2-0 this series, both games going to set 5, but just really impressive performances from all three players there.
Oh, be still my heart. I'm gonna be honest, that was fun to watch. It felt like both teams had a very different take on how they wanted to approach the map. One side, honorable, KOing. Another side, creation. Some would say, nah. Actually, none would say. Excellently played. I really love the fact that Temamon bust out the Luna. I think it's such a great pick into the Estelle. She's so good at shutting down the brawler characters that touch the ball, but the great thing is Luna doesn't need to play on the ball. And on the other side, I, of course, want to give props. I was very impressed with Stealth Rock. I think that was a great showing for his debut on NASL midfield, despite a loss. It really could have gone either way, and it's quite good, essentially, because I was watching go toe-to-toe with a player who was voted to top 3 midfields in the last season, right? So the fact that he was able to put up that performance, I'm really, really quite pleased with that. And then obviously captained by Fresh. I think who has the most seasons in NASL out of all of them. I think this is his 4th, while Carmine's on his 3rd, if I'm not mistaken. Either way, Fresh, want to give props to him as well. He was under a lot of pressure from that BD Dancer X, and he did not crumble. Really, really well played from him. Put out a lot of damage. Really facilitated the offense with some timely strike shots. Had some really good zone control with the Finny. I think he should be proud of how he played today, Weston. I was very, very pleased with him on that one. Without further ado, we're going to be right back. But you might want to stick around, because not only do we have a post show, we may have a little bit of a surprise from one of our favorite artist pairs, Yoshi64 and Lego Mage. Not going to say much, but you may have noticed at the start of the season, there's always a little something that gets played, a little bit of an art piece, if you will, and we didn't see that. So I'm going to look forward to more of that. And you may have noticed I mentioned 2 artists. That was a lie. There's 4 this time. Yes, the Bestie and Slot art team has truly come into its own. We had not 1, not 2, but 4 people work on the North American Strikers League opening animation. So don't go anywhere, because that's going to debut for the very first time at the end of this stream. So we'll take a quick break, and we'll see you just in a bit for the post-show and animation. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Thanks, everyone. because there's no K-bot and no one else was going to do it. So here I am on the post show, hour 6 going strong with Saya. And with me, I have a team player from every single winning organization. We have me on the Sad Boys. We have Dropletto. Wow, my camera's really wobbly. I have Dropletto from the Bozo Bunch. I have Frilly Fresh from the Rat Pack. I have Gumi from Not Demon's Robber from Demon Time. And I have Hungry Boy, Rookie of the Season from Return to Form. Fellas, that was a long day. It was an exciting day. Everyone except for me played against a rookie team or was a rookie team who won. So I'd like to give everyone's thoughts on the rookies. Starting with the Bozo Bunch, first of the day, Dropletto. 30 seconds, give me your takes on your series with the dogs. Do you think they've got what it takes, or are they all bark, no bite?
As much as I would love to go into this and just talk trash, the dogs, I'm not gonna lie, okay, light trash, were gonna be a lot easier than I thought they were, or I expected it to be a lot easier, but that was hard. Those are some hard games I had to fight through, and as you said, we got forced to set 5.5, I think twice. So, hey, I was happy to see their performance.
Okay, cheers. Good job staying within the time limit. Next, Frightfully Fresh, you are the only rookie team to win, even though obviously you are not a rookie. So talk to me about why you were able to find a win today against an established team and versus actually one of your ex-teammates. So talk to me about why you were able to find that win in those close back-to-back set 5 games in 30 seconds or less.
We had the vacation buff. Like, I think every single one of us just like stopped playing basically for a week. Vacation buff comes in strong, but also I think Carmine and Tempo's synergy, even if they have a lot of whimsy, it's basically unmatched. Just watching those two play together, I guess obviously like the top players, they have a lot of competition there, but I'm impressed by them every time I see them play, even if they do some bastard stuff.
That's facts. All right, Rio. Speaking of rookie teams, you welcomed Polar gently into the North American Strikers League. What are your thoughts on the Polar Cortex as they complete their journey from NAST to NASA and now NASL? Do you have any words of wisdom to give them as a long-standing top player in the North American Strikers League and a champion in your own right?
Yeah, it was cool to finally get to play against them since we've been talking to them and about them for so long. And I was honestly really impressed with Samuel Zajczynski the Fool. He went kind of crazy on the deal.
Yeah,
like,
the game too. Yeah,
yeah. If you're making Husk crash out, you're doing a good job. So great job there, and just keep up the hard work. We were very impressed with their gameplay.
That's facts. Last but not least, we have Hungry Boy, RTF. Almost wouldn't be on this desk. Set 5.5 game 3. Some say HMG robbed. Maybe some, not all. Not me though. I knew RTF was winning the whole time. So Hungry Boy, talk to me about what your first opinions were on HMG and what made the difference and how you were able to secure that win when it came down to the wire, other than the fact that it went through an Atlas Expanse. Talk to me about that series.
Yeah, I mean, game 1 kind of went how we were expecting, but we also kind of just rolled pretty high in the draft and got a lot of damage. That
your Vice build was crazy.
Yeah, I think I rolled extra special at the spec. So had a little bit of damage. I mean, it went about as we expected. Game 2, however, we wanted to lock in the Dubu because Dubu gates. Enough said there. So we lock in the Dubu. Normally, I mean, we're just going to throw that to Leo and stuff corner win game. So then we saw their picks, and I was like, well, I don't like. Leo pointed out that Kai and Dubu, don't have great synergy together, but we know that HMG have had struggles against the Kai midfield, so that was kind of our thoughts picking it. So we locked that in, but then unknowingly they picked in the Asher goalie, and that shit fucked us. Oh, my bad. That shit. That was rough.
It was good.
Yep, it was really good. Shout out Trevor. That guy held it the hell down. And then game 3, absolute heater. Went up 2-0 pretty quick, and then they got some pretty good builds and were able to put up a really good fight. I think Josh was playing like an absolute beast on the now.
True.
It was really cool to see. Yeah, unfortunate Atlas ability, but no, I think they played really well overall, and definitely a lot better than I was expecting.
Cheers. Last but not least, my series versus EK. AC hashtag low diff, ban the Dubu, frauds. Next question. Moving on, we're going to talk about NASL going forward. One thing I want to ask is, what are our thoughts on the change to map pick ban? I'm going to ask two people. The first will be Frightfully Fresh.
At first, I was like confused by it, but the second we started doing it, like it felt better. So I
Yeah.
shout out. I think Gramella's the one that suggested that. Shout out Gramella for that one. Yeah, I like it a lot.
Last but not least, Alaska Brawler. Known for their quick wit and intelligent decision-making skills, Brawler players always have the best takes. Drop Leto. What do you think about this change?
So, as the brawler of the person who actually proposed and thought up of these changes, I have had not to think whatsoever about map pick ban because he kind of just did it for me. And
yeah, I was about to say.
I have no idea.
You're just like,
what
whatever.
The changes are actually. So, but you know what? We picked map, I think. So, just good looks for us.
All right, now my other two guests I'd like to ask, speaking of maps, but not necessarily the map selection process, I want to talk about the map pool. This is the first time in history there is not a map pool without AtLab, Night Market, and Oni. The original big three have all been killed. I remember back before any of you were born, when Rio and I were in the 2023 streets, the big three started there, where we just played NASL playoffs on those three maps. So Rio, I want to go to you first. What do you think about the current map pool, and do you like the direction that our tournament organizers have taken? I personally am a big fan. I think it spices up a lot, and it feels like all these maps have different like play styles. But I'm curious as to hear what other people think, so I'm going to start with you.
I don't know. It does feel a little bit weird to not have those as an option every time and play AtLab 20 times a season, so that feels a little bit strange. I'm not sure. I mean, it's definitely variety, but a lot of the other maps are like a bit annoying to play, so I'm not. I don't know. I just like variety, so it is nice to have to play different things.
Mixed opinions. I see. I understand completely. All right, Hungry Boy, let me hear it from you.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think I'm in the same boat. Like the old maps are good for a reason, and they're picked a lot. But I mean, I think it's always good to throw up a challenge and have people try to figure out these new maps. Well, I say new. These not so often picked maps.
That's facts, guys. We only have 9 of them. The game's been out for like 3 years. We got it. Anyway, sorry, keep going, Hungry Boy.
No, I mean, that's pretty much it. Like, I think it's always good to throw out a challenge and see how people can adjust. So, curious to see how people do with the maps this season.
No, I like that take. You know, you got to keep it like flavored. And I'm going to use my CEO powers. Historically, I've used my powers for evil to influence community decisions on certain maps. Originally, my crusade was against Inkies. We've since repaired all boundaries since the water can's been changed. Next is on Oni Village. Guys, Oni Village hate, leave in 2025. The new map to hate is Taiko Temple. Wow, that map is so boring. I'm so sorry. Creation, no skill, dog meat, spam, hit stun, boring ass, watch and play loop. So dull. If you pick that map, you're literally incentivized to lock in like Asher, Rune, Finny, Dubu, Alice only, and just slam the ball. There's no cross clear possible because there's a big drum, and sometimes the ball will just bounce off the drum backwards. Shout out Megaverse, terrible map. If you like that map, you should feel bad. Get that map out of my life. That's the new hate train. 2026, the year of Taiko, is done. The whimsy of Dubu Alice is no more. Okay, let it be known. Now, before we head off for the day, I'm going to do a hashtag Say Nice Things Sunday little sneak preview on everyone on the desk to shout out another NASL player that is not on your team and one you did not play against, and commend them on either something they did well today, or if you didn't catch any of the other games because you were busy, I'd like you to talk about their team. So first, we're going to start in reverse order with Hungry Boy.
Shout out to Temple Melon. I've been always enjoying playing with the Dubu Brawler pick, and it was really cool to see that game. So, shout out Tempo. Amazing performance on the Dubu.
Rio?
I want to shout out Nicholas Sorensen. I was talking to Vaughn about him earlier, and we both thought that guy played
beast
like
mode.
A beast, freak of nature. And that guy always gets a lot of hate and catches a lot of strays. So shout out Soren for the W Finny performance.
W Nicholas Sorensen. Love that. He did play like a beast on the Finny. He was locking up my midfielder. He's just so old now at 21 years old. There's nothing else he can do. So really, really well played by Soren. I like that a lot. Next, we'll go to Drop Leto.
Reverse order. What happened? I want to shout out Leo Leon because that Asher, like you said, Taiko Temple, that was
Chills.
looked so annoying to play against. And I think any brawler who I think, man, I would hate playing against this, that's good looks. That's good looks.
No, that's facts. Last but not least, Mr. Fresh, say nice things Sunday.
I want to shout out Gramella, Josh Gramella, for helping out my teammate Carmine. He kind of has like he starts doubting himself in the middle of games. I think he's the GOAT, like MVP or second MVP for last season.
You're telling me.
But yeah, helping like giving him ideas for like breathing exercises or whatever that helped a lot in the middle of our game. Like he kept his composure and like I was impressed by how he was playing. I'm usually impressed by him. So shout out to
Unfortunately-
Gramella for that. Like I really appreciate that.
Okay. I forgot. You shout out Gramella. I thought you were shouting. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay, I'd like to shout out Cardsmith. Shout out to my ref. Not shout out to Cliff though, because he gave some cheeky comms to my beautiful goalie you already lose, just trying to hang out with us. He said, "Get out." So shout out to Cardsmith, the cool ref, and reverse shout out to Cliff, the mean ref. But shout out to both my refs that helped out, and shout out to the refs that helped out today, because obviously the draft website is down. Shout out to Jet Secret. I realize now how important that website is. My God, please save us in our time of need. So with that being said, we have one last thing. I don't want to keep yapping because I'm more interested in seeing this than seeing my face on this stream for like the 5th hour in a row. So without further ado, I want to thank everyone for tuning into NASL Season 7. That's crazy. By the time this is done, this will be the 3rd year of NASL straight. So cheers out to our tournament organizers. And for that, I'm going to let you guys go because we've got one more thing to watch, what I've been looking forward to very much for today. So without further ado,